Hi, I'm Ray Evans. I was born a little over 94 years ago in Arizona. I've been an Arizona native, third generation Arizona native. Uh, so at the beginning of World War II, when we began to fight a war against the mighty powers that were against us, we were all pretty well united in the United States. There were dissenters amongst our people, but the bulk of the nation was united against the powers that were opposing us. I was raised on a cow ranch in central Arizona, and during the first part of the war, we were exempt because we were a food producer. Towards the latter part of the war in 1944, my two brothers and three cousins all decided that we would give up our deferments and go into the service. 5 of us entered the service between June and November of 1944. My oldest brother and I went into the Navy in November of that year. All 5 of us were in the Navy. My next older brother and 2 of my cousins all had joined the Navy. As far as being in the Navy, and I'm thinking of the 4th of July here. I can't remember really a time during that period that I was in the service when there was any special day given to Independence Day. Shore bases did have some kind of a ceremony during that time, but at sea there was no time to do that on ships. We were in different time zones. We were in different day zones, actually, at times, being west of the 180th meridian. My duty and my time during the Navy was I'm not going to say it was the prime time of an enjoyment for my life, but I was not in a time during the war. It was towards the end of the war, and I myself was never involved in conflict. I was in the area, but when I joined the ship in Guam, we were past the time of Iwo Jima. We did not go towards Japan. We spent our time in the Southwest Pacific doing recovery jobs, little bits of things that a tug could do, rescuing ships, picking up craft that needed to be moved from one place to another. So I was not in combat. I have no relationship to combat. My time in the service, I thought, was well spent. I thank God that I was there and that I was safe during that period. I saw things that I would never see again, or that I never would have been able to see if I had not been in the Navy during that period. As far as Independence Day goes today, during the life of this country, after about 80 years of its founding in 1776, we were in conflict, in a conflict with ourselves. We fought amongst ourselves for ideological purposes. Here, another 80 or 90 years later, or a little over, we are again going into that same kind of a conflict against ourselves. People who don't study history or don't pay any attention to history are not cognizant of the fact that history repeats itself. We have the same kind of conflicts that we had in the 1860s. And here we are in the 2000s, some 80 or 90 years later. We have the same kind of problems and the same philosophies that were held at that time. There are those who believe in the Declaration of Independence, who really believe that this is a God-given country. There's no thing in our histories or anything that says that we will remain a God-given country. God has His own plans for us, whatever it is. We have to trust in God that we will carry on the best we can and believe in Him and not forget. I enjoyed my time in the Navy. I saw things that I would never see again and never thought I could see. I returned to Pearl Harbor in 2001 for the 60th anniversary of the beginning of World War II for the United States. It was completely different than when I was there in 1944 and 1945. The philosophies were different. The destruction was not what you would see at that time. Many things had been recovered. I did meet a lot of good men while I was in the service, and I have kept in contact with a number of those good men, and it's now down to one other and I that I know of that I met on the ship. It's kind of depressing that way, that so much can be forgotten over the years. I am depressed by things that are going on in our country, by all of the people in this country. The ones who tend to forget what the basis was when this country was founded, by the action of 30-some good men meeting together, fighting or discussing their difference of philosophies, and all coming together and joining in one declaration. And 13 different colonies coming together and agreeing to those principles. We all had our differences at that time, but we all joined together and discussed them and settled on a course of action which would guide us forward. And I'm speaking of us generally as a nation of people who can sit down and discuss things together logically and emotionally and come to an agreement and settle on a course of action that is. I just watched a bird go by, flying free, going where he wants to go. I kind of wish that I could do the same thing today. Thank you.